I'm Chris Ferzoco.
And I'm Joe Ferzoco, and today we're going to actually take a look at a couple of DIY stuff. Chris, we're going to take a look at some things today. 6 things that you should never have underneath your kitchen sink, and actually 5 things that you should have under there.
Makes sense.
But before we get there, let's go hit the town right now.
All right, so we're back, and again, this video today is going to be 6 things that you should never store under your kitchen sink, Joe. However, there are 5 things that you should have underneath your kitchen sink.
How about that? All right, but hey, if this is your first time to the channel, please subscribe below, tap that bell for notifications, and please hit the like button so you'll be the first to get the most up-to-date market information, stats, DIYs, things like that here at the Jersey Shore. You know, Chris, we get calls, texts, emails every single day from great people looking to buy or sell here at the Jersey Shore and the areas that we'll cover. I mean, folks, we cover from Brigantine all the way down to Cape May. And then in between there is Wildwood Crest, Diamond Beach, North Wildwood, Wildwood, West Wildwood, Avalon, Stone Harbor, Sea Isle. Oh, let's go back down to Garden State Parkway, North Cape May Courthouse, Upper Township, Ocean City, Sea Isle, Ventnor, Margate, Longport. We cover all those towns, folks. So, hey, if you're looking for real estate information, whether you're looking to buy or sell, please give us a call, shoot us a text or an email. It'll be our pleasure to help you with all your real estate needs here at the Jersey Shore. So, hey, Chris, why don't you get us started with a couple of these items here? And again, we're going to be looking at things you should have underneath your kitchen sink and things that you shouldn't have underneath there.
Yeah, I'm going to start off, Joe, with, let's face it, your entire Costco order does not need to be stored underneath your kitchen sink.
Right.
And let's face it, you probably don't have that much room under there anyway. But folks, anything that you bring in that doesn't actually necessarily have to be opened up right away does not need to be stored underneath your kitchen sink. The first thing being, let's see, if you leave it under there, first of all, what could happen? What happens if you have a minor leak?
Yeah.
Now the things that you purchased can get ruined. Okay, but in order just to free up the space, anything anything that is unopened, I'm going to get this out one of these times.
Yeah.
Anything that is unopened, just keep it somewhere else. Put it in the laundry room, put it in a closet, in the basement, garage if you have the opportunity. But there's no reason to clutter up underneath your kitchen sink with items that you're not going to be using in the most immediate future. So my first one, Joe, is extra supplies.
Okay.
Yep. What do you got?
I'm going to be looking at things like harsh chemicals, all right? And the funniest thing is here, you need like that powerful cleaner, like, bleach or something like that. That should be stored in like a laundry room area, maybe in the basement or something like that. You want to keep it out of reach of small children. So any sort of a harsh chemical for cleanings and stuff like that, that really should not be kept underneath the kitchen sink.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Joe, another one that definitely shouldn't be is a flammable product.
Okay.
And this is one that's really not maybe often thought too much about. I mean, some of it is obvious, but a lot of product that you might have under your sink does have solvents in there. There are solvents, there are paint thinners, different paints and what have you. And these things are and can be flammable. Okay. And one of the most often combustible products that you end up having is actually just a dirty rag that someone may have used if they were varnishing or staining something like a table or a chair. Let's say they were refinishing that, and they take that dirty rag, they put it underneath the sink, and that actually, because of that furniture polish and because of that stain, that actually become they provide an environment that actually can make it combustible, and that happens quite often, more often than you would think.
How about that?
So definitely not leaving flammable products underneath your sink.
Interesting.
Yep.
Amazing the things you would think that are flammable. Kitchen towels and paper bags. How often you're sitting there, you walk by the kitchen sink, you just got done from your grocery store or something, the empty plastic bags, you're tossing them underneath there. While it's convenient to have these type of things and put them underneath there, under the sink, anytime paper towels, any kind of paper product or plastic or anything like that, the slightest leak, drip, 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 and all of a sudden, paper towels are trash, plastic. And I would say one of the biggest things, Chris, I was always noticing when we were kind of going through some of this list, it always seems to be mold and mildew, mold and mildew, mold and mildew. And it's like, that can cause mold and mildew. And it's like, yeah, I don't need any of that stuff sitting underneath my kitchen sink.
That's for sure.
Just one other thing to take a look at with that.
And then the rags that you would use to clean up the mold and mildew are ruined.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the last one that I have today, Joe, is actually pet supplies.
Okay.
And look, we all love our pets when we have them.
Sure.
And so sometimes it might be convenient, or might think it makes sense to keep your extra pet food that you're not at that moment using underneath the kitchen sink. But go back to what you said before. that actually underneath there being wet can produce a mold, can produce mildew, which can actually then get on that product.
Okay.
Which now you're going to be feeding your beloved pet.
Yeah.
Basically food that is contaminated.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only that, you can run into a situation where if you have a little mouse or a little issue like that running around that you're unaware of, that can actually get into. They'll eat through the paper of the bag.
Yeah.
They can actually get into the food, and now the food's contaminated that way, which is obviously not healthy for your pet. So definitely the extra pet food. And I know, look, not everybody wants to keep their food, their pet food next to their human food, but I think sometimes you just gotta move beyond that and just keep it in a safer place than underneath your kitchen sink.
How often are they probably eating the human food?
Right.
So that's always remember that too.
Exactly.
One last one for us, Chris. So small appliances. This kind of got me a little bit here, but small appliances. I'm thinking to myself, small appliances underneath the kitchen sink. Like, don't you leave them on the kitchen counter or in the cabinets in itself? But whenever you're looking at like anything from a miniature vacuum to a food processor or something like that, you always want to make sure don't keep those things underneath the sink. Again, I go back to a small leak, little electronic appliances. You do end up with moisture underneath your sink, so you always want to make sure those things don't get damaged. If they are underneath there and just not properly stored. So that's going to wrap up 6 things under the sink that you should never store. So Chris, I'm now going to get into a couple things that you can store underneath your kitchen sink. So these are going to be 5 things you can store underneath your kitchen sink. First one being, it's sort of like an organization of your tools, okay? So at this point in time, you have some things in the kitchen that you always want to make sure you got little tools for, kind of like housekeeping. You keep it underneath the sink. You can keep pull-out trays and things of that nature. Spray bottles, hooks for spray bottles and stuff like that. You can always keep those S-hooks and baskets and things like that underneath the sink. You can also keep them organized so that when you do pull them out, it's easy to clean, and then you put them right back in. So it's just some organizational tools you can keep underneath your kitchen.
I like that one. That's
a good one.
I like that idea. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yep.
So the number 2 on our list that I'm going with today is actually going to be an absorbent mat.
Okay.
So we've talked a couple of times now on why not to keep things underneath the sink, because there's that potential for a leak, and sometimes they're ever so slight you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So having an absorbent mat underneath your sink, it can handle a little bit of water. If there's a light drip or there happens to be some occasional water getting down there, the absorbent mat can actually then obviously absorb the water, which is its job, without ruining any of the product that you might have down there.
Okay.
So my suggestion would definitely get yourself an absorbent mat and get that underneath the sink.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. Now, we were also talking a little bit before about not keeping things underneath there. You were talking about like the oil rag, stuff like that, or a towel that maybe just varnish some silver and all that kind of stuff, keeping that under there. So those are definitely not. But the things you can keep under there, cleaning product wise, some sort of like anything that's distilled, cleaning vinegars, things like that, dish soap for pots and pans and things like that. Those are some of the things, scouring products, any kind of scrub pan that you want to have underneath it for pots and pans. Those are always good things to leave underneath the kitchen sink. And the other thing, because it's one of the, and I'm going to say this word, I don't know if it's a word, the germiest thing underneath your sink can be a sponge. And yes, folks, they're gross after a certain point in time. And there is such thing, yes, of cleaning your sponge. That is actually a thing.
Yeah, that's right in the dishwasher.
There you go.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So next we're going to move on to very important, the fire extinguisher, right?
Yep.
So you want to keep at least a small fire extinguisher. Joe, when we sell real estate down here at the shore, there are regulations for certain size that you do have to have in the kitchen.
Yep.
Anyway, so make sure that you have the proper size fire extinguisher underneath the kitchen sink is a perfect spot to have that in case there happens to be a small fire or what have you. Obviously, too, make sure that it is up to date, it's up to code. As well, and so that would be one of the most important ones I would imagine having underneath your kitchen sink would be your fire extinguisher.
Absolutely. And then one more thing to have underneath your kitchen sink, which everybody never seems to be able to find until you absolutely need it, is maybe some the handy tool. The handy tool that actually, when your garbage disposal gets jammed up and you need to get underneath there and crank it and spin it, we never can seem to really find that. That is such a vital tool. Yeah, such a vital tool to have for you with regards to if that ever gets jammed up, and of course, like anything else, we never can seem to find it when that occurs. So, Chris, that's going to be our 5 things as far as things that you can store underneath your kitchen sink as opposed to not. So why don't you get us out of here with the end of the day?
Yeah, so folks, again, from Joe and I, We have a lot of videos out there on YouTube from properties that, property valuations, properties that you're selling. So if you are thinking of buying here, we have videos that talk about what you can get in certain price points in different towns that we cover. If you're thinking of selling, you need equity evaluation, reach out to Joe and I. We'll be more than happy to provide you with an equity evaluation on your home, tell you a little bit what's happening in the real estate market down here at the Jersey Shore, because it is different potentially from where it is that your primary home may be. So again, from Joe and I, we always look forward to creating these videos for you. We love doing them. We're having fun doing them. We hope you enjoy them as well. And until the next one, we'll see you at the beach.